Yeah, I never imagined I'd have a book growing up, obviously. Honestly, I didn't even think that I'd be a professional race car driver. But it was something that as early as I can remember that I absolutely loved was racing. And I used to play racing, we call it, with my brother, my older brother Nick. And it's funny, like if when I think about it, it truly is like your childhood dream coming true. The fact that I'm doing it as my profession, how I make my money, and it's an absolute passion of mine. That I don't think it. I look back and I look back with amazement that I actually ended up in this position. But then again, when you look at how it happened, it truly came down to hard work and persistence. I think you look at all the steps that it took to get to that position. The first one was obviously driving for Team Australia in Champ Car, cracking into the US scene and really becoming a professional driver. Those 2 years in that series, and just the biggest highlight of my career so far is winning the 2014 championship. That was absolutely almost more of a relief than absolute excitement, because I'd finished runner-up 3 times before that. So I just look at that point as probably one of the best times in my life, like that, winning that championship and that off season to think about it and relax and enjoy it. Mark Webber, I first met him when I moved to England to race in Formula 3, and he'd done a very similar, exactly the same track that I'd done. He'd raced Formula 3, so I met him at Silverstone one day, and he's very pivotal in my career. I was at a point where I was done. I was going home to Toowoomba to just go back and work for my dad in the canvas business. I was absolutely convinced in my mind I was done, and it was just between my girlfriend at the time and Mark, which Mark had employed my girlfriend. We were just living on basically no money over there, so everything kind of helped to pay the rent in the small apartment we had. And he did that deal for World Series by Renault, which was the next step for me to continue my track to Formula One. Ultimately is where I wanted to be, but just to continue as a race car driver. And I can't thank him enough. I mean, that's a big step for someone, even at the time in his career, to kind of guarantee the funding and money if I couldn't come up with it. And he did put his own personal money in. So very grateful, and a great guy to just to talk to about how you approach things at the stage that I was at that point. Well, I think if a kid read that book, they get an understanding of that it requires a lot of hard work to be good at motorsport, be a very good driver. And I think that applies in everything in life. You look at the people who have become successful in any field, including business, and they have an obsession and just a fire in their belly that you need that drive, and be willing to do more than anyone else. And I think if you have that attitude, you can do anything, really. That's true. And I think back to my school days, and if I'd gone back or just understood what it takes truly to be a champion at something, I would have been a straight A student.